Hi everybody, it's Miss Julia again. Today we're going to talk about portraiture. So a lot of people shy away from doing faces. A lot of adults will say, I just do landscapes, I just do animals. Kids will say, oh, I only do cartoons. So this will be a few techniques to maybe help you with the process of doing a face. You can just watch this video or you can try it as well. It's definitely meant for all ability groups, not just advanced students. So enjoy this video, give it a try, and have fun with it. Okay, so today's video, I want to show a little observation I've noticed from years of doing portraits that might help with dilemmas that you come across when you're drawing people's pictures on whether the person looks too old or too young. So this is just a quick little observation and a quick little portrait lesson and what to watch for. So I've dusted the page first with a light pink, and I've just used a kind of almost a fleshy pink. Now I'm going to use a little yellow ochre on top of that to make it a little more like a flesh tone. These are just going to be study style of pieces. There's not going to be a ton of color in these, so I'm just dusting these with a bit of yellow, and I'm going to just, now I'm using the same size oval, but you'll see the features will change with the way I'm going to show you how to measure them. So I'm going to just dust this in, blow off any excess. Now I'm going to use a sanguine Conte. Sanguine is kind of a reddish brown Conte. You can use chalk pastel. So the first thing I'm going to do is do the eye line. So I'm just going to draw a little bit of a slightly curved line, a third of the way down for the adult. I'm going to go halfway down this oval for a youth or a child, and I'm going to go a third of the way up from the bottom for a young baby or a toddler. Okay, now for the nose line, I'm going to measure about halfway between here and here. So from the eyes to the chin, about halfway, and then halfway between that nose line and the chin is my mouth. Now, don't draw the mouth in because those features could change depending on the size of the eyes. So I'm going to go about halfway down just to kind of get me started, halfway between there and there, the bottom and the nose, and on the baby, halfway between where the bottom would be, halfway between there and the bottom. Okay, so now on a human eye, if you take your two fingers and you measure your eyeball with your fingers, it's approximately 2 fingers wide. So for an actual realistic size head, I use the 2 finger and I leave that space between the eyes, which is about the width of your nose. So without drawing any lines, I want you just to kind of curve a little side of the nose on there, and then I'm going to pace out another 2 fingers and another 2 fingers. So I want to make sure that the eyes are the same width as my nose. Now I'm going to take my chalk, and because I've dusted the sheet, this should just rub off or rub in and move that around. So that's giving me this spacing of the eyes. So I'm going to do the same thing here. 2 fingers wide for the nose, 2 fingers space between the eyes, 2 fingers, 2 fingers. Remove what I don't need. Okay. And I'm just going to shape the nose a little bit here. Okay, now for the baby, the features are tiny, a little bit tinier, so about 1.5 fingers. So I don't want it to be quite as wide. So same with the spacing of the eyes, just a little bit smaller because the head hasn't grown big enough yet. So I'm going to take out that little bit of color that I don't need. And I'm just going to shape that nose a little bit. Okay, now for the middle one, I'm going to do the curve of the eyelid. So I'm going to start with the top lid. So don't draw that typical fish shape for your eye. All eyes are a little different. I find if you draw the curve of the eye first, it's fresh in your brain, and your brain has it can pendulum the same shape over to the other eye. So I'm going to do the same on this one. I'm going to do the same on this one. Now, because the baby has less room, those eyes seem a little smaller. There you go. Now, you want to put the bottom lid in, but don't put the bottom lid in. Put your iris in first. That's the color part of your eye. And on the adult, you want that iris to be covered by the lid a little bit. So I'm putting a little bit of that iris is hidden underneath that lid. Same on the youth. Could have a little more eye showing. Open that eye up a little bit or not, depending on the expression. For the baby, same size iris, but they don't have as much lid, so you can show a little more of the iris. And because you have less room, because the eye is a little bit shorter, that's what gives them that wide-eyed baby look, because they have less room for that iris. Okay, now for the bottom lid, I'm going to put his bottom lid right up against that iris. Gives him a tiny bit more of a squint or a slight smile. Okay, on this one, I'm going to leave a tiny bit of space between the bottom of the iris, which gives her a little more bashful looking up at you look. And on the baby, I'm just going to wrap it and touch the iris right around and touch. Okay, so for eyelids, on this one, a second line right above the eye. On the youth teen, maybe a little more space, because you possibly are looking down at the person, so that means you'd see more of their lid. Okay, and on the baby, I'm not going to put any line. If anything, I'll just hint a little extra shadow right above the eye, like this, because you're not going to see much. For eyebrows, on an adult, I'm going to make, men are typically a little more hairy, so I'll make it a little bushier for the man, approximately a finger space to the peak of the center of the eyebrow from where you started the original curve of the eye. On the youth, just a little more, whatever direction the eyebrows go on one side, they'll go the opposite direction on the other side. Okay, and for the baby, not much, just a little hint. Now for the nose, I'm going to take the dust from this Conte and I'm going to work it into the brow bone, keeping my eyelid highlighted. So I'm just going to take that dirt and I'm going to shape out the sides of my nose, because your nose is a hill. It's not really a line. So your nose is coming at you. So it's going to appear almost like you're making a triangle shape in the center of the nose. So I'm going to rub the sides of the nose in like this. Then I'm going to add nostrils. I'm going to add these nostrils. And I'm going to shade the tip of the nose because this is bending underneath and it's not going to catch the light as much. Okay. Now for the youth, same thing. Just going to keep the eyelid a little bigger. And it depends on your model. It depends on the person you're drawing. Everybody's a little different. But I find most people fall into this same kind of measurement category. And I'm going to just add in a nostril, a little bit of shading underneath the nose where that little gap between the two nostrils is. Make sure the sides of the nose wrap around. Okay. Now, on the baby, I'm going to round out the end of the nose. They don't have as much bridge on their nose, so I'm just going to shade it and add a little bit of a roundness to this nose. Okay, now underneath everybody's nose, you have a little muscle that shapes, I always draw it like a little J almost. Look at that, those two little lines, depending on the lighting, you have that two little lines and it kind of shapes out where that top of that mouth is going to start. Now what you have to do is you have to measure from where the peak of the nose is. So not the part where your nostrils are, but where the tip of your nose is. So right where kind of your original line was, I'm going to measure 2 fingers down. So that's about right here. So this line that I originally drew is going to be the opening of the mouth. But it won't necessarily measure that for everybody. Just make sure that at that 2-finger point, that's the bottom. I'm going to give this person a little bit of a top lip. Your top lip is always shaded because it doesn't catch the light. Your bottom lip catches the light, so keep it highlighted. So I'm going to add a little bit of cheek in here. It's a little bit like sculpting. So you're just molding this face into that dust of chalk. And you can give them as full a lip as you want. You can open their mouth. Okay, on the male, I'm going to measure the 2 fingers down from the tip of the nose, kind of right where we had that original line. And there's the bottom of the mouth. So I'm going to measure up from there for his lip. And this becomes the opening of the mouth. Shade that in. All right. Then for the baby, I'm going to measure that 1.5 fingers. So this is the bottom of the mouth. So I need to open up that mouth here. Okay. Top lip. Add in some cheek. Okay, now for the measuring of, as far as the eyes are concerned at this point, I am just going to shade the top of the iris and across the white of the eye. I'm going to blend that in. This sets the eye into the head a little bit better, so it doesn't look like your eyes are bulging out. You want that eyelid to cast a bit of shadow, even into the white of the eye. All right. Now, I'm going to take the measurement now of the 2 fingers again, and I'm going to measure from where the mouth ends to where the chin would end. So we're going to go 2 fingers here and 1.5 fingers for the baby. Okay, now the other observation I've noticed is all adults, their ears, depending on the tilt of your head, but if your head is totally straight, your ears are going to be even with the bottom of your nose. Babies, same thing. Youth, same thing. Okay, the top of the ears are going to be even with your eyebrows. So I'm just hinting these in right now because we don't know what the sides of the face are going to do yet. So we kind of know that's about where the ears are going to be. So on this person, I'm going to make this a male. So we're going to make the jaw a little more square. Oops, sorry, come down into here. A little more square jawed. Okay, so that means this is all going to flow into here. So now I can hint ears in there. Okay, and I'm going to just drag some of that flesh tone and some of that conte into there. And then for neck, usually for males, you follow that jawline and come straight down. All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of my pink, just dust here so that you can rub your conte into it. And you want to eliminate your outlines just like in our other sketches. So on this person, we're going to take, there's our 2-finger measurement, we're going to make a smoother jawline. Okay, and then the jawline also depends on the weight of the person. That could change. I don't get into a lot of detail in the ears just because I don't want a lot of attention to go there. I just give the impression. Okay, now for the baby, we're gonna, they don't have a lot of room, so their cheeks gotta, think of their baby cheeks. They gotta fit in there, and then the only little chin is just a hint. They don't have much neck, so on the youth, the neck would slide down and curve slightly. On the baby, you don't see much neck. They have such little necks that you get to their clothing before you even see neck. So you'd have a little more clothing in here. So I'm going to smooth out that cheek line. And now I'm going to hint in those ears. Oops, that's a little chubby cheek. So you're trying to even them out once you get them in there. Just make sure you don't have one side of the face that's a little fatter than the other. Okay, so now for hairline, what I want to do is I want to take, let's dust these next. For hairline, if you take your hand and put it between your eyes and lay it on your forehead, you're going to find your baby finger is going to hit right about where your hairline would start. Same with the baby, maybe just a tiny bit shorter. Okay, so that's where the hair would start. So on the male, we'll just start his hair there, but know that has to puff up beyond the original head. Okay, on this one, I'm going to give her a little more of a loose hairline. So at least 3 fingers up from where you started that 4-finger spread there. So it looks high, but that's actually, you don't want to cut people off too soon. Okay, so for the baby, just know that the baby's working within this oval more. See how they've gone beyond the oval? The baby's staying within the oval. Because they don't have as much height on their head yet. They don't have thick hair yet. They have very thin hair. So it would be a little more right to the scalp. Okay, after you get this in here, I want you to think about pupils. Put the pupils in the center of the circle. So remember that part of that circle is underneath your lid. So think of where the whole circle of your iris is and where in the center of that would be your pupil. Okay, you can add a little bit of lash in there. Okay, baby in the center. So after you get this all on here, we're not going to add a lot of color. I mean, go for it. If you want to add some flesh tone and colors on these faces, go ahead. This is more of just a study sketch, just to kind of give you the idea of the differences in the faces. You can take a little white chalk or a knead eraser. You can add that little bit of highlight on the nose, on the lip, or that extra bit of glassiness to the eyes. And this will show up pretty good on that dusting of the color that we started originally on this. All right. So have some fun with this. This is one of those exercises that you will remember this when you're running into trouble on portraiture and you're trying to figure out what it is that's not quite right on the measurement of the face, and this will help. Okay, so go ahead and have some fun with this and enjoy.